Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the RangerRob Country Living Podcast. And we've got a loaded house today. And I'll get everybody introduced here in a minute, but I need to remind everybody you can now find the RangerRob Country Living Podcast on Central Oregon Radio, which we just got back on the air with. We are regularly on Spreaker and many other platforms. And if you go into the description, you can find all these different locations that we're at. And today is kind of a mixed bag. I started this show out with a pet peeve of watching the news today, and I thought we have got to bring on some folks I know that would actually help me instigate this show, along with, of course, Dale. But it's like, I know for a fact that what I'm going to talk about today will have a great discussion with all four people here. So, without further ado, I want to make sure I introduce on the top corner off to the side of me is Dale Wiley. He's locally in Central Oregon with me. Down below is John Smith from the Backyard Politics Show down in Arizona. And of course, there's the legendary Texan, George Guzman, which we don't know what he does, but he's very interesting no matter what he does. So welcome, people. I appreciate you guys being here. I'm still trying to get a little organized here of getting my screens up here, but I want to talk about here it goes. Now we got to remember, guys, we're on YouTube, so we got to watch our P's and Q's, but I want to talk about this January 6th stuff I'm seeing today. It just made me sick because we all know it's been a year and we know what happened, and a handful of people that were out of control. There's thousands and thousands of people there, and a group of about 20 people decided to take it to the edge and start causing trouble. And so, but with politics, they just took it to the max, and it's like they're trying to brand us with this thing that nothing really happened, and they proved it was like it was just some goofballs. I mean, so yeah, even before the show, we're saying it wasn't a cult, it wasn't a cult, it wasn't a what do you call that, taking over the government and all that stuff. And
coup d'etat.
Yeah. So help me out here, guys.
Republic.
So let's start with Dale first. What's your first impressions of what you saw today about how they were reporting the January 6th stuff?
Well, I didn't see anything today because I don't watch mainstream media, and any of the stuff that I saw.
Well, then you're smart.
Yeah, any of the stuff I come across YouTube was a typical filtered and moved around type of thing. And, it's just all political theater as far as I'm concerned. You get into this thing and you look at the history of coup d'etats and attempts to overthrow governments and everything. And it's never been done with a bunch of scurfer dudes in water buffalo hats and running around breaking into stuff and everything. I mean, if you're going to overthrow a government, particularly one as strong as the United States government, you better come in there with a huge force. And it simply doesn't work out. There were plenty of Marines and other associated, defenders or security real close by and everything that could have come in there. But, you simply don't matter. And it's just, they made sure that all the cameras were in the right spots and everything. And, you look back on the history. I mean, look what it took to overthrow Noriega. The United States had to send down, huge forces, division level forces to make this thing happen. And so to anybody that thinks that this was an actual attempt to overthrow the government, it wasn't. It was just bad theater. And the fact is that people that continue to believe this is true have been manipulated appropriately by mainstream media.
I guess one of my biggest thing that drives me crazy is I just can't believe that so many people actually believe the stuff that they were talking about. But it's like I seem to be around a lot of people that seem to me have common sense. But when I watch this media and I watch the news, it's like uh, I was like, what what is going on? Is everybody really that stupid and can't see through all this, or is it or are people starting to get a clue that this is this is just a bunch of storytelling and in blowing things out of proportion, and it's like, and I don't know about you, but in a year's time so much has happened. I don't know why anybody's even remembering January 6th. What do you think, John?
Well, the word that's being thrown around and has been thrown around for a year now is insurrection, right? And the media is using the word insurrection. The Democrats are using the word insurrection. Other people were using the word riot. We saw, I think it was Ted Cruz yesterday referred to January 6th as a riot. And so he may have hurt himself. That's a whole different conversation, but he may have really hurt himself politically because the America First people, they're kind of taking notes. They're not forgetting this type of stuff. But the interesting thing about the insurrection was the fact that there hasn't been one single person that's been charged with insurrection. And we have a lot of people, hundreds of people maybe, that are being held in prison right now as domestic terrorists without their rights as Americans. And it's pretty frustrating. From my perspective, it's frustrating to see that the media can keep throwing insurrection around. The Democrats can keep using that word, but not one single person has been charged with insurrection or found guilty of insurrection. We've had some trespassing in a public building. We've had all kinds of stuff like that. In fact, I think Ray or our Reveler mentioned who is Ray Epps. Ray Epps is an Arizonan. Ray Epps lives down in Santan Valley, and Ray Epps was all over media. He was all over recordings on January 5th and January 6th, encouraging people and enticing people to storm the Capitol. And this man has not been interviewed. This man has not been arrested. He's certainly not in jail. And, so that just opens the door to, conspiracy theories and that type of stuff. Who is Ray Epps? And why hasn't he been arrested yet? Why aren't the local media, like Brom Resnick and all the local media here in Arizona, why aren't they knocking this man's door down? Why aren't they asking him questions? So the whole thing is very frustrating. And, like I said, the conspiracy theories, the doors swing wide open, and you start to wonder who is writing the narrative for the Democratic Party and the left right now. They've had a year, right? They've had a year to write this story. They've had a year to put up the videos. They've had a year to plan for this. And, we know that AOC, she lied about the fact that she was in the building. Turned out she wasn't in the building.
Such a liar.
She's such a liar.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. But, she talked about
AOC, and I want to just go crazy.
Oh, me too, buddy. Me too, George.
Holy smoke.
But, there was a cop that was trying to come to her aid, and she was talking about how threatened she felt. And she felt that someone was trying to bust her door and to kill her. And she wasn't even in the Capitol. So this type of nonsense from the left that just continues to spew out and make it into mainstream media and just be played over and over and over again. I was with your pal up on the right corner. I'm sorry, you don't have the name up. So Dale, right?
Yeah.
I didn't watch the media today, Dale. I didn't go on to Twitter, but maybe once or twice just to check a couple things out, because it was just tremendous force-fed garbage. And they're going to push it. They're going to ride this pony as long as they can. But I think at the end of the day, I think the American people smell a rat. Absolutely. And I think this is only going to hurt them in November. And, and that's, I'm praying that November comes and a red tsunami comes and just wipes them out. That's my hope.
You're just jealous because you can't date her, George.
That's right. Right?
Yeah,
So
she said that. She said that
I'm
that's
not
why.
dateable because
That-
you Republicans cannot date me.
Yeah. And is that the same reason why we go after Nancy Pelosi? Is that
Are you
the same
freaking
reason? Right? Because we can't
gotta
date
be.
her.
Oh my!
So George, you guys in Texas are supposedly have all the common sense in the world, right?
You would think so.
So
Anyway.
yeah, so why can this continue on? I mean, like today, to me, it was like a whole bunch of just professional lying. I watched the president, I watched Pelosi, I watched them all, and I just got I shouldn't have watched it because it just got me Twitter paid. And I live in the country, and yes, we have some radical, goofy people that like don't know how to drive right and all that stuff. So they lack a little bit of common sense too. It happens. But my gosh, are we really all that stupid? Is everybody so stupid that can't see these reports coming out and hearing these reports are not questioning by now that maybe some of this is BS?
Yeah, believe it or not, I think this turnaround has definitely made an impact on the Dems. You know, the liberals have actually probably stepped on too many landmines and have continued now to start to turn this thing around. They've definitely made comments that are false, and people now are realizing that they have lied. And little by little, they're starting to actually step all over themselves. And that's just, it's been grand to watch that happen because, you know, people look at and see what's happening, and then they are getting false information, and it's really turning a lot of people against, you know, what we think of as the liberals that are causing all the problems.
Yeah.
I think my view of it was, you know, watching some of that, and I mean, gosh, it was just made me very upset and angry, and I used a lot of words that I'm not going to use on the show, but
Thank you.
it was, but I'm an ex-sailor, and sometimes they slip. But you know, I watched a lot of it, and it was literally just frustrating just to watch how many lies were coming out and just the information that was so false in so many ways. And the people that were suffering, just like John said about, you know, all the people that were put in jail for all the things that they supposedly did. And not a one of them can get, you know, convicted because of what happened. You know, so I just, you know, I turned it off because I just couldn't stand it anymore. It was just a lot of BS, and I was tired of it.
Yeah,
I
I
think what we're
made a
gonna-
mistake. Go ahead.
I think what we're going to see is a lot that people are trying figuring out that virtually everything that comes out of mainstream media is a lie. It's a fabrication. It's intended to you know, in the case of financial writers, try and move the stock market. You know, and in some cases, these other ones, they're going out here and it's just like, let's throw something up on the wall, see if it sticks. And if it looks like it's going to get a little bit of run, then we're going to run with that one and see if we can pump it up just a little bit. And, you know, I've noticed, and particularly here in just the last couple of weeks, that, and I'm pretty vocal about that on different areas, that the media is completely deceitful, manipulative, as is our government. And, you know, so they kind of go together on this thing. And it's just like, how long can you keep fooling the people? You know, what's that Who song? I won't get fooled again type of thing.
Yeah. By the way, I just had a comment about my green screen, and so I want to show the rationality of why I did what I did today. So I don't know about you, but the last shows I've been looking at, my screen has always been fuzzy, and everybody else's has been clear. And John, I think, suggested it to me that if you don't run the green screen app part of this software, that it won't take up so much power. So I can't tell until the show's over whether my screen's actually as clear as you three. So this is the experiment. So that's why I don't have my green screen on. So you guys are being guinea pigs today. So there. Also, what was it? John, do you have a show tonight?
No, I am actually under the weather, but I'm kind of redoing my show. I want to do more in studio interviews, and I want to get more involved in Arizona politics. That was kind of my aim from the beginning. Well, not from the beginning, but since January of last year. But things have just slowly come together. But I'm that's my goal. My goal is to have more people in studio and doing interviews with them, whether they're candidates or whether they're just people that are actively involved in Arizona politics, and just sitting down and talking with them. So I won't be doing as many live shows as I have in the past, but I will be doing them accordingly when I can book people to come in. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
So yeah, the other thing, one more thing I got out there is, yes, I realize I'm wearing a green shirt, which I would not wear a green shirt if I was activating my green screen.
Oh, hey, my buddy Survival's here. He's awesome. Survival's a good dude.
I'm so glad to see him.
Yeah.
So welcome, Survival. Also, yeah, it's yeah, they're picking on me today. So anyway, guys. So one other thing I is George didn't. I mean, this wasn't in our regular agenda, but George brought up something that was really interesting before we started the show. Is old George? He's down in Texas. The people with common sense. And so I hear you're really getting inundated with a little bit of people coming across the border and maybe a couple extra drugs and stuff. I mean, that can't possibly be going on, could it?
No, not at all. But yeah, but a little bit. Yeah. Actually,
And the reason and before you go into that, the reason I want to bring that up is, we're up here in the Northwest. And I lived up here a long time, and then I moved to Arizona like John, and I realized there's a whole different attitude. There's a whole different politics. There's a whole different enlightenment when you live down there by the border. So before you talk, I want to say, everybody that's up north here, you got to realize there's people that live along that border, and George and John here both live along the border. And so what you guys say, we need to start taking a lot more serious. So tell me more about how pleasant it is in Texas right now, George.
well, I always keep pretty much a lot of tabs on what's going on in Texas. And it's been kind of a whirlwind for the Border Patrol, simply because of the amount of people that have been rolling in. I'm talking hundreds of thousands of people that have been migrating in. Now, they've had a lot of incidents where they've caught, they have been trying to screen every person that comes in, and they have actually caught a few of the criminals that we've actually put behind bars in past. And I'm not going to go into detail about who it is, but they were definitely people that we would have considered terrorists. And that's unacceptable. You're letting so many people in while they're taking advantage of it. And it's obviously, I'm talking, we've probably pretty close to about 1 million immigrants. And I have to say that, there's a lot of people that go through the process. If you go through the process, you're going to be able to eventually get a visa and become a U.S. citizen if you go through the process. And if I were to go up to Australia, I'd have to do the same thing. I would be considered, an illegal alien or illegal, immigrant, and I would have to go through the whole process to become a citizen of Australia. Not that I want to, but I'm not saying. But nonetheless, that is what's going on here. They're not doing any of this kind of process, and a lot of the people have been waiting years and years for them to be able to get an actual visa or an actual a chance to become a U.S. citizen. They're doing it the right way. These are hardworking people, and it's very difficult for them to be able to move through that process when people are just being let in all of a sudden. So it's they have the borders open now because they had them closed for a while because of the influx. But now that working people that actually come across the border to earn a living now can actually come across now. But the problem is with that is that now you're seeing an increase in a lot of drug activity. Okay. And fentanyl seems to be the drug of choice right now, along with other things. But the influx of it has been insane. It's gone from like about maybe 25% to about 150%. So here they're looking at really big seizures. And so it just continues to go on, and it's getting worse.
Yeah.
So
let me jump in on that. Go ahead. No, I was just going to say,
I'm going to have you add on to this, John, too, is we've got all these illegal immigrants coming over here, and like where we're at, like me and Dale, we have a lot of Hispanic and a lot of folks, all kinds of people from all over the world here that have come in legally, and they actually fill in a really important work areas. Like we have a lot of farming and stuff like that, but they go well beyond that. They're quite educated also.
Mm-hmm.
But what are these millions of people going? I mean, once they get here, they get their checks, whatever. Where did they go? Where are they? And how are they going to fit in?
Well, a lot of them, Rob, are kind of disappearing into the shadows. Okay. They're being told they're given a court date, and they're being told to appear at such and such a date, and they don't. Right. I mean, that was in the debate between Biden and Trump for this past election. They talked about that. And it's just they just don't show up for their date. Why would they? So they disappear into the shadows. A lot of them owe money to the coyotes and the drug cartels. So they run drugs. And about 2 weeks ago, there were 1.7 million fentanyl pills that were seized in Scottsdale. 1.7 million pills. And then I believe it was another 800,000 that were seized in Phoenix. So you're talking almost 3 million pills out of 2 seizures. Now, this is something that most Americans don't realize, but for Americans ages 18 to 45, do you know what the number one killer is right now in America? Fentanyl pills, fentanyl overdoses.
One pill, just one can overdose a person. Just one.
That's right. Yeah, exactly right. Because they can be laced. We know that these fentanyl pills they're coming in from China, which it's odd because it's like we can't get anything else from China, right? We can't get vitamins and boxes of cereal or anything else, but Mexico can get the fentanyl pills. And then they're running those across the open border. And we're going to see from 2020 to 2021, April to April, there was a massive spike in fentanyl overdoses percentage wise.
Yeah.
And the numbers aren't out yet for this year. Of course, they're going to be out in a few months, but you're going to see another maybe twice what we saw last year of fentanyl overdoses. It's to the point where every single police officer and EMS and any one of these first responders are all carrying the shot. I forget what it's called off the top of my head, but it's to bring people back. Yeah, Narcan. That's right.
Narcan.
Yeah, to bring people back from these overdoses. So if you let's say the first responders weren't able to inject them with the Narcan, now add up how many deaths. And so we're talking about January 6th. We're talking about getting a jab. We're talking about a bug. We're talking about viruses. But we have an open border across our southern United States that's allowing these people to bring in million. And think about, this is just what we've seized. 3 million pills in the past month in Arizona. Imagine what we haven't been able to catch. It's outrageous.
4 times that probably.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Dale.
That amount. Yeah, I would say.
So since you guys are kind of near the borders and stuff, and of course we're up here in Marshall, we're kind of away from it. So we get it. I've seen this before where we get a different attitude up here. All those poor people that are trying to find a new home to live in America. And when you've lived down south, that's probably why I'm not as sympathetic anymore, is because I've lived down there. And it's like, first of all, diversity and is incredible down in the border states. Totally. I mean, diversity is there. It's people from all over the world. It's people from all different countries blended legally. I'm talking about the legal part of it, and having careers, having educated people, professionals, the whole works of every shape and size and race, whatever. But and so when you go down south, you realize that it's just a joke if there's like the word racism, because talk about diversity, go down south. Everybody's got great diversity. And then when you meet everybody that's being pointed at, racism or whatever, as far as being Hispanic and stuff, they're the first ones to say they don't like it either. But if you come up here, you get this other kind of attitude like, oh, they're just saying that because they're Hispanic. Well, no, go down south, you realize Hispanics are 50% of the population, and they're saying this is a foul. I mean, it's just crazy, and I get so frustrated with that. And that's why I'm glad that we have some folks here from the north and some people down here from the south, so we can get all this. But so the next thing I have about down south, and you guys are getting inundated so bad with folks that are illegal and stuff. How's that affecting your stores? How's that affecting your shopping? How's that affecting food? How's that affecting your restaurants? How's that affecting your health care? What's going on down there?
Well, George, I don't know about you in Texas, but I don't notice much as far as the economy being impacted, because here's the thing, Rob, and this is what people of the North have to understand, and other non-border states, whether it be in the South or the East or whatever. But the Biden administration is working in the disguise of darkness, and they are bringing these folks across the border. They're giving them their government-funded and issued backpacks and tennis shoes and jeans, and then they're flying them off somewhere into the middle of the country, that in the middle of the night, that people don't even realize is taking place. I flew a red-eye flight out of Phoenix into Charlotte, North Carolina, and my plane had at least 18 illegals with their government-issued tennis shoes and jeans and backpacks, and they just dropped them off in Charlotte somewhere. Nobody knows where they're going. Nobody knows who the families are that are taking these people in. Nobody knows anything about anybody. So this is not just impacting the southern states. It's impacting your state. If you live in the United States, I can guarantee you right now that within the past week or two, there have been planes landing in your state full of illegals, and they're just being shipped to God only knows where.
And
have no idea.
And buses. I've seen pictures, photos of illegals getting on the actual buses there at Fort Bliss and on the Texas borders, from friends of mine that used to be in the Navy. So they would send me these photos and say, look what's going on here. And we're like, you got to be kidding me. And I'm talking thousands of people getting on the buses and going to undisclosed locations. So if they're going, just like John said, they're all over the place. They're going to, Florida. They're going to just about every location that you can think of. And they're being basically just, here you go. Enjoy life.
They're being dispersed out, and they have to disperse them out across the country like that, because as George said, if they're coming in there a million at a time, and I have no doubt that's true, and everything, they just can't leave them all in the same area. They've got to disperse them out. They'd overwhelm any social service systems or anything else like that. And it would become apparent right away as to what's going on. So dispersing them across the country like that is key to keeping this whole thing, under wraps. And of course, the mainstream media is going to ignore it anyway and everything. And it's only in alternative places like this that you're going to find out what's really going on.
Well, the local news had basically been kind of stating Laredo was being so inundated with illegals. They were all over the Laredo area. And the mayor said, I can't do this. I need help. Because I can't do this. There's too many, and we can't accommodate them all. And so hotels were being full of illegals, and the mayor just had to say, I need some federal help. and he didn't get any worse. But
No. Well, Kamala
Yeah,
is
well-
supposed to be in charge of this whole nightmare,
yeah, right.
and she came
Who's
down
that?
to El Paso. Kamala Harris.
Yeah,
She
well,
was.
Sarcasm tags.
I appreciate that, but she was, she was supposed to come down and tour the border and tour these areas where these hundreds of thousands of illegals are crossing on a monthly basis. But she didn't go anywhere near those areas. And then today she's got the gall to come on and compare January 6th to 9/11.
To
And
9/11, yeah.
unbelievable.
Pearl Harbor too.
Yeah, over
Yeah,
3,000 people murdered by Islamic terrorists in 9/11, and she's going to compare that to January 6th. I mean, this woman and these people on the left are despicable, and they will say anything.
And that's my point is, how long is all these people going to keep buying into that stuff? Where does common sense come along when you start adding up the stories? It's like,
Well,
and of course, and then the other thing is with all these immigrants coming in here, where are they going? I know they're getting spread out, but if they can't speak the language, have no idea how the social society even works around here and all that, and are just dumped in these states, where are they going? Where are they? I mean, they got to be hanging out. Are they ending up in our homeless? Are they ending up in our shelters? Are they buying? They're not buying new houses. They're not starting new businesses. What's going on?
Well, I could tell you that some of them, I know that just like John was saying earlier, that the cartel has a lot to do with and what they do. And what they do is they actually they send them to certain places. They may have gotten that via Biden's plan to spread them all out all over the place. And then they get jobs in that community of some sort, McDonald's, things that didn't require anything. I don't even know. Does McDonald's require a GED these days?
They require you to be breathing to work.
Yeah. So they take those jobs and they send back money because they know that they have their family or somebody, being held hostage in so many words. They send the money back, and that's the way they get some of their money from that community. And what does it happen? Damages our economy, because they're sending money back to Mexico, and then of course it's not helping our economy at all. But nonetheless, for a lot of these, what was it with all these 15-year-old boys that were getting sent across at first? And all of a sudden, you didn't hear hiding their hair of those guys. They're gone, and probably someplace else and sending it to Mexico, to the cartel.
So what's happening with your guys is down south, and for those who have popped in here, George is from Texas, and John at Backyard Politics is from Arizona. So are you hearing anything new about your crime rates or issues going on down there that are spiking?
Yeah, actually. I have a Phoenix police officer who lives just up the street from me. So we chat. And the crime rate, Kate, can't think of her last name right off the top of my head. She's the mayor of Phoenix. And she's a defund the police nitwit. And Gallego, that's her name, Kate Gallego. And so she's a defund the police nitwit. So she's trying to do everything they can to defund the police. Right now, the federal, the FBI or the State Department, not the State Department. I'm sorry, I'm having a mental block. But anyway, they're being investigated for quote unquote racism, right? And so the police officers in Phoenix are no longer, they're just not going out on patrol. So they will answer calls that are dispatched to them, but they're not patrolling the streets of Phoenix anymore, because if they go out and patrol the streets of Phoenix and they arrest 80% of the arrests are Hispanic, then the federal government will accuse Phoenix police officers of being racially biased towards Hispanics. So they're just not going out. So they'll get dispatched to a husband and wife, maybe getting drunk and throwing beer bottles at each other, but they're not patrolling the streets. So the crime in Phoenix, because of Kate Gallego and her left-wing nitwits down there, the crime in Phoenix is through the roof. And it's unbelievable. And the fact that she's even considering running for governor is a joke. She'll never get elected.
Well, you referred to the crime there, and and George said, "Where are all these people going?" and everything, and locally where Rob and I live in this area, we're a little bit east of the I-5 corridor, but down in the Medford area, Jackson County, Josephine County, I lived and worked down there in both of those areas. Recently, there was an illegal marijuana grow. It's legal to grow here in Oregon, except at the scale these guys were doing it in a White House or a warehouse, outside of Medford. There were over 100 of these individuals working in this warehouse. They didn't say if they were undocumented, but there was virtually no reason to detain them or prosecute them. They're just drones. I mean, they wanted somebody else. So they cut them all loose and everything. Now that's happened 3 times in the last 6 months down there in that area. Hundreds of these people on these illegal dope grows, and they had to get some money from the legislature to pump their enforcement up on these things because it was just running over the top of them. I kind of keep track of the drugs coming up that are seized. And I saw Reveler there. He made the comment, or somebody did, about, they get one load and 10 go by. And that's exactly how that whole thing works. And so, the crime from that whole thing is worked out. And then you can look at the city of Portland up here, which is just a mess and everything else. Hell, they weren't 45 minutes into the new year and somebody whacked 2 guys out there like this. And their crime wave, their murder rate was, I don't know, double, triple what it was the year before. And it's exactly the same thing. The officers will not go out and patrol. They will stand there and watch people burn things down and go after people and everything else. And there's absolutely no enforcement on it. These people are ejecting out of the police forces right away, which has been good for our area because we picked up some pretty good officers that got out of there and came over into here. But I mean, these are just all the little measurements of crime that you're looking at. And our liberal governor here, Kate Brown, and the people that have been in charge in this state for the last 30 years, they just don't give a damn. It just keeps going on and everything else. And so where does it end? At what point in time, when your biggest city's murder rate is up over 125% in 1 year, that's a little bit of a problem.
Unbelievable.
It's so funny,
really.
Living where we live here, it's and because I came from Seattle and I also lived in Arizona, it's this night and day. I mean, you just can't believe the difference. Like Dale and I feel like we're living in a dream because things are, crime is pretty low.
Yeah.
When things kind of get riled up, we can, as a local area, we can kind of get it under control with using our police officers and following our laws and stuff. We can correct problems and stuff like that. Not all the time. And then you look at our city and it's like, I can't even, sitting here in Central Oregon, I can't even comprehend that Portland's even part of my state. I mean, we're so in like a whole different reality. And it's like, I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to live like me and Dale, where, you still got stuff going on. I mean, people are people, but it's comprehensible, and you're still going to have your Karens, and you're still going to have your dumb people doing stuff, and alcoholics and drugs, but not at the scale that you poor guys are putting up with these big cities. And it's like, I guess with our show, we also want to tell people there's a reason why a lot of us have escaped the big cities, because these are the realities going on. But we also want to be cautious that it doesn't bleed off into our country area, our rural areas, or urban areas and stuff like that. We're worried. And so us folks over here, we're worried to death about those folks over there starting to bring their ideas over here. And it's like, that's scary.
Oh, it's happening. I know both I can definitely speak for Texas. They've got so many people moving from California here, and it's definitely made a rise. We barely were able to give Donald Trump a victory for Texas this past election. And we used to dominate. I mean, literally dominate. And we just don't see that right here in Texas now. And I think a lot of it also when they made the deal with the people who came across that they were going to ask them to vote Democrat because they gave them their freedom and all that crap. So I really think that Texas is going to have to fight next year really hard to be able to continue to be a red state.
I think probably what you've got there, with those people coming in from some of the comments I'm seeing here in the descriptions and everything, yeah, it looks like these people that are coming in now are a little bit farther up the social economic scale than, the bulk of the previous immigrants have, being involved in the agriculture, nursery business, and some other things. For years and years and years, mostly, we saw, the campesino level type of individuals wanting to, better themselves and come over and work in the industries like that. And it doesn't, they're coming over. These people are a little bit higher up the social economic ladder that are departing there. And so it's like, and my question is ask why. What's the end? What's the end result? What's the end game here? Who benefits from that? Follow the money type of thing.
It is money. I think they're driving up the tax prices, obviously, in California, Washington. I've had so many friends already move to different locations. Like one went to Nashville, lived up there for years. One's coming to Arizona that I know of. I mean, I got lots of friends that are moving away just because of that reason. They're just driving up the tax prices, and a lot of people can't afford it when they have, good pieces of property there in like Washington State. So,
well, it's a trendy thing right now. The trendy thing is the eject from your left coast liberal states, and I completely get that. The California in-migration of people in Rob and mine's 3-county area is about 5,000 a year right now that are coming in. Right. Every time, a town gets burned out in Central California or something like that, these people take their insurance money. And after the Paradise Fire, the local realtors, within 3 days, were running radio spot ads down there in Chico and those areas like that. And I've met multiple people that have come in like this. And so, and even on the younger set, some of the millennials and everything, it's a badge of honor to say, screw Oregon, I'm out of here. I'm moving somewhere else type of thing. And so you're seeing all this outflow from California, Washington, and Oregon. They've got to go somewhere. And they're finding the Arizona, Texas, some of the Florida, even a lot of people have went to. So, I mean, that's going to make them stronger. And I'm too old to move. I just built this place out here a couple of years ago. I'm not moving. I'm going to die right here on this.
Blame you. I'm done.
Yeah, absolutely. And even some of my own family's thinking they're going to move. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to worry about it. If they come up my driveway here, and I have a long driveway and I'm on top of a hill and everything else. And, if they want me that bad, they're going to have to try and make it up that driveway and everything. And I don't think it's going to come to that. But, it's just like, it's almost, and you hate to see this because this is money leaving your state and going somewhere else and everything. And, in the next 3 weeks, when the stock market devalues itself 50% or more, money's not going to mean anything anyway. So,
right.
The crazy thing is survival, and you guys were talking about taxes, George. You mentioned taxes and that type of stuff. The funny thing is that taxes never solve any problems, right? We know that California has one of the highest state income tax rates in the nation. We also know that Florida and Texas have 0 state income tax. Yet all these businesses, all of these corporations are packing up and they're moving to Texas and they're moving to states that don't have taxes. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Because taxes don't solve any problems whatsoever. They create problems. Anytime the government takes money from the wage earner to spend it because they think they're superior to us, they know how to spend your money better. And anytime they continue to take more and more, it's a failure, because we know that the government, whether it's state, federal, city, no matter what they try to do, is always inefficient, right? There's always too many pockets that need padded. And if you left this type of stuff up to the private market, the private industry, we would be able to do it 99% more efficiently than the government can do anything. And that's why we've got to fight. We've got to continue to fight for limited government people. And you've got to really sort through the Republican Party too. There's a lot of progressive Republicans out there that are America second and that are high taxation and all this other crap. And you really gotta start to vet the people that you're voting for. Just because it says Republican next to their name doesn't mean they're the right choice.
Right.
We've got a Senate full of those type of people right now.
Yeah, Mitch McConnell and you name
it. Yeah. I mean, throw them all out as far as I'm concerned, because, you know, and institute term limits and everything else. These people that are making $175,000 a year, somehow in the time that they're in there, all of a sudden they're worth 30 or 40 million. Okay. I'm a business guy, but you just can't make them numbers work in any world or any frame of reference, you know, at all. And see what that, you know, brings on and where it's going to go. And you're exactly right, you know, Andre John, it's these Republicans and these conservatives out there. They need, in Oregon right now, the Republicans are announcing their candidates for governor. Now they're going up against a 30+ year Democratic stronghold on the state house, and probably 27 years or better on the legislature. They have a super majority. All the Republicans have to do is walk into the room and the Democrats can vote, and whatever it is passes. They don't even need a Republican vote right now. And so you've got all these Republicans, they're starting to come out of the woodwork, and they're going to have to figure this out, that at some point in time, they're going to have to stop bickering with each other, figure out who's the strongest candidate with the best position, write some frickin' checks and build this thing up and go out and slap these people around like they haven't been slapped before. You know, and I don't know if you guys know who Nicholas Kristof is. He's a reporter from the New York Times, and he, you know, partly lives out in Yamhill, Oregon, farming country out southwest of Portland and everything. And so he was going to run for governor. He filed and everything else. Well, he wasn't bright enough to go ahead and check the election laws and everything else. He hasn't had a residency in Oregon long enough. And so they threw his deal out. The Oregon Secretary of State did. Now, mind you, the Oregon Secretary of State is elected, but also serves at the pleasure of the governor here and everything else, who is not up for re-election. She's termed out. She has to go away. But she has her hand-picked successors right now and everything. And you know good and well that their fingerprints are all over this thing. They drilled him out because it's one less competition for them. And given the way the population demographics in our state are, is virtually two metropolitan areas, Portland and Eugene, can take any election. And since all you need is 35 to 38%, well, you get all your public employees, school teachers, and all those along that line there, and you can take an election with just that right there.
Yeah.
So, guys, there's something I want to put John on the spot about something. And it could have changed since I've talked to him. So, is John still looking at 40 acres up in northern
Arizona? Yeah.
Arizona, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that we have to be very careful about in northern Arizona is water. We've got to make sure that the land has access, the well has access to water, right? And so we did find a nice 40-acre lot that has a well already dug. It goes into an aqueduct that runs through there. I forget what it's called, but it's an aqueduct that runs up through the White Mountains, and it is tapped into it. It's getting about 12 to 16 gallon per minute refill rate, so that's very good.
Wow!
And it's really good, and it does have access to electricity as well. So we're pretty eager. We want to pull the trigger, but we want to make sure that we got to get the water tested and all that type of stuff before we make that, because we want to be able to drink the water, but as well as, give it to livestock as well. So if we decide to go with chickens, or we decide to go with those Idaho pasture pigs, I know a buddy of mine who's got 4 of those little guys. And and there's another 40-acre parcel that's just adjacent to it. Now, it doesn't have a well or anything, but it would be like being able to purchase 80 acres. And so we're looking into that. We're seeing if it makes sense for us, but I think to be honest with you, this valley is growing so quickly, and there are just thousands and thousands of people coming in from California that they're going to trash it. They're going to trash the entire valley, and Mesa will fall. Tempe will fall. They're all going to fall. So we want to be somewhere out in the boonies, but somewhere that's not entirely too far from the rest of our families. So yeah, definitely looking into it. And I've learned so much, Rob, from watching your channel. I feel like I could legitimately go up there and be able to start a small homestead and just kind of build off of it just from watching your channel. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, your information is gold.
Let's build a wall and then we can all go live over there.
That's right. I figure once he gets his little 40 acre compound all built, and by the way, can you put machine guns at each corner?
I want
most definitely, just like they did up in the chop.
And we're all going to move in. We'll just call it. Please don't call it the Alamo. But yeah, we could all just move in John's 40 acres and start our own habitat. Yeah,
probably one of the smartest things you could do, John.
So my point is to take the show about some of the things we just talked about, and I just pointed out that some people are taking action. And so that's this thing about this show is like, I don't want to just talk about these things that we hate so much and rant, but what are we doing? Are we starting to find a different way to live? Are we getting involved in politics, or are we getting involved in organizations around you? Are you getting involved in your school districts? Are you getting involved in Chamber of Commerce? Are you doing things it doesn't matter if it's just a little scale or large scale. Are you finding a better way to live? Are you learning how to be more self-sufficient? Are you learning how to do things on your own and not be so reliant on the government? Because we may fix this problem in 2022 with the voting and getting different leaders, but it will be back again. That's just the nature of our country. We get Republicans in, and then we get the Democrats on. We can never stay on the course. And so, but what can stay in course is us, the people. So my question to the panel for the last 8 minutes or so is like, what are you doing to be, what actions are you taking to counteract what's going on? And what are some of your hopes and dreams? Or you don't have to be doing it right now, but like John, he's working his way into an idea, and he may change. He may find a couple other things. So I just because we're saying 40 acres today, he may be saying 10 acres later. It doesn't matter, but he's looking at it. So my question to the panel is, what are you guys doing now, whether you're in the city or in the country, to bring common sense back to your lives?
Well, I think from my point here, and this is kind of reinforced, is that I don't believe anything I basically hear, media wise or anything else like that. I absolutely have to filter this for myself and find my own sources and everything. And people are getting way too caught up on this. They're getting way too caught up in the clickbait and some of the other stuff that's floating around there. And they're worrying about, stuff that's not going to affect them. I'm not letting up on the prepping thing. I am still got my foot down on the throttle hardcore there. I am prepared 9 months right now. I want to get to a year and everything. And really, I haven't left my property in 10 days, in these snowstorms and everything else. And I got to go to town tomorrow to do some banking and catch up on some other things. And so that's what I'm doing. And I'm also, I'm tired of everything that's out there. And I know John's got this backyard politics podcast that I'm obviously going to start following. Probably in the next 2 weeks, you're going to have a podcast come out called The Backyard Prepper that's going to take my old man experience and everything and condense this all and basically tell people, how well prepped are you? Oh, I don't have anything. Well, you're screwed. And even at the level 1, because we are truly in a level 1 SHTF situation right now. It can only get worse. Okay, then you can go back to this thing and say, well, do you have this level here? Well, no, I don't. Well, you better get it together, because things are going to wad up on us a lot worse and everything than they are right now. So that's my thing, is ignore the hyperbole, ignore the rhetoric. I mean, I still listen to it, you have to understand what your enemies are doing if you're going to be able to counter them in some form or another like that. But I'm not going to let that, be an obsession or anything. I'm going to get myself in a good position, to ride this thing out. And that's multifaceted type of a thing. But, what John's doing is absolutely essential. Find some property, get out of the major urban areas like that, get out of debt, don't have a lot of debt and everything. Just be in a good, solid situation for you and your family, and just go for it. Be the gray man too.
Yeah. What are you doing, George? You doing anything different?
I've been trying for the last few years to kind of be logical about the things that I come across, the people that I chat with. And I do come across, some liberals that are very strong in what they do, but, I like to present facts. Talk is cheap, unless you can actually produce some sort of fact to tell them and show them that, hey, this is exactly what's going on. And you're being either cheated, you're being lied to, and you don't see it. You've got some sort of blind in front of you that's causing this mess of illogical items that keep coming from the left. And so it's my job to try and talk some sense. So I've sat down with quite a few people, and kind of talk sense with them. Says, well, how come you're doing this? Why is it that you believe this? And then we talk about it. It's not an argument. It's more of just talking and trying to kind of not persuade them, but to have them learn, because knowledge is everything. If you know,
some of the liberals have got to be getting screwed in this process too. I mean, this just can't all be aimed at conservatives and Republicans. At some point in time, the liberals have to be getting screwed too, and they're going to have to not like that in order to change it.
I think they're feeling it now. They're starting.
They have to be.
Pinch. They're feeling the pinch, and I think they're starting to see the light a little bit. And that's
absolutely.
I'm someone who wants to make sure that I am comfortable in so many ways, but I keep a pretty much nice survival kit of everything that I could possibly fathom. I mean, we got months and months of food.
Nice.
And we didn't even do it on purpose. It just
you just like food.
Food, so we stock it. My gosh, we're ready for apocalypse for sure.
I know what you got. You got tons of beans, because I know how much you love Mexican food. So it's like, I bet you're loaded. I cannot wait to come down there to have dinner.
Oh yeah. And the funny thing is, because we're not having anything Mexican.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, I'm sorry to say, we're not having our dinner's going to consist of basically just roast beef and mushroom chicken.
Well, I'm in. I'm in. So we are getting down to our last minute. Anybody want to add to what we talked about, and what are you doing, and what action or what wishes do you have for others? Anybody want to throw any more comments?
Yeah, I can't recommend this enough, but guys, you've got to get involved in your local politics. Okay. Mm-hmm. We have been trained for decades now to take our eye off local politics and focus on what's going on nationally. And that's just not getting us anywhere, right? These national politicians, they're not doing anything that they say they're going to do. And it's really the local politicians and the state politicians that are going to protect us from the federal overreaching federal powers. So we've got to get involved. We've got to get involved all the way from the dog catcher to the school board, to the city council, to the state reps, to the state senators, to the governors, everything. We've got to stay on top of them. We've got to get plugged into Twitter. Go on Twitter and find your state representative. Find your the people that are running for governor. Find everybody, your school board people. They're all on Twitter. Go find out who they are. Read their tweets. You'll find out where they stand. And if they're not America first, or if they're not Texas first, or if they're not Oregon first or Arizona first, get them the hell out of there. Find somebody that's running against them And so that's what I'm doing. Just so you know, I'm going to plug my show. Monday night, I'm going to have Samuel Stone on the show. He's a candidate for the Phoenix Council District number 6, and he's going to be right here. He's going to be right here in the Say What You Will radio studio. And I'm not going to pull any punches with these people. I want to know. I want to know where they stand, and it's going to be live. They're not going to be able to squirrel their way out of anything. I'm going to hold their feet to the fire. And that's what I'm going to continue to do.
And to wrap you guys up, I'm over time here, but the fact that 4 people here are talking about action and talking about doing things is one step in the right direction. And I urge others who are watching us, start your own podcast, start your own shows, get involved with backyard politics and backyard prepper in the future, which is Dale. And I know George has been kind of him and Han about a podcast too. And we'll always make sure when you guys do anything, we will help let the people know that you're out there. So guys, we got to wrap this up. So thank you very much, panel. Of course, stay on after I go off air. So thanks again, guys, and have a great day, everyone. Bye. Thank you very much for watching our video. Please take the time to like, subscribe, and share our videos all over the whole wide world. Thanks.